Why do people love isekai so much? Let's be honest for a second. Isekai is one of the most repetitive genres in anime. Every season, a new isekai comes out. A guy dies, or gets hit by a truck, or gets summoned to another world. Then somehow, he's immediately overpowered, surrounded by beautiful girls, and destined to save the world. The fantasy kingdom looks the same. The adventures feel the same. Even the characters often feel like copies of characters we've already seen dozens of times before. And if we're being completely honest, a lot of isekai aren't exactly masterpieces when it comes to writing. Many have generic plots, forgettable characters, average animation, and stories that feel like they were generated from the same template. Yet despite all of that, the genre keeps dominating anime. Every season brings more isekai. Studios keep making them, fans keep watching them, and some of them become incredibly popular. So why? Why do people keep coming back to isekai even when so many of them are repetitive? Why does a genre that gets criticized so much continue to thrive year after year? And perhaps the most important question, what is it about isekai that makes millions of people, including myself, keep watching? To answer that, we need to look beyond the fantasy world's overpowered heroes and demon kings. Because the real reason people love isekai goes much deeper than that. Before we talk about why people love isekai, we should first understand why the genre gets criticized so often. Because let's be honest, a lot of those criticisms are completely valid. One of the biggest complaints is the overpowered protagonist. Many isekai protagonists become absurdly strong almost immediately. They don't struggle much, they rarely lose, and sometimes it feels like the entire world exists just to remind us how amazing they are. Then there's the setting. How many times have we seen the same medieval fantasy kingdom? The same adventurer guild? The same RPG mechanics? The same status screens? At some point, it starts feeling less like a new world and more like a slightly different version of the last 20 worlds. And then we have the stories themselves. Many isekai follow almost the exact same formula. A regular person gets transported to another world, discovers a special ability, builds a party, defeats enemies, gains fame, gets stronger, and eventually saves everyone. It's a formula that works. But when hundreds of anime use it, it becomes predictable. Character design can also be a problem. Many protagonists have similar hairstyles, similar personalities, similar motivations. Sometimes they're so generic that if you swap them into another isekai, nobody would notice. Even the supporting characters can feel familiar. The loyal knight, the tsundere, the elf girl, the beast girl, the harem member whose entire personality revolves around liking the protagonist. And then there's the animation. Now, not all isekai have bad animation. Some look fantastic. But because so many are produced every year, many end up with limited budgets and average production quality. As a result, some shows look forgettable almost immediately. So when people say isekai is repetitive, they're not entirely wrong. The genre absolutely has a tendency to recycle ideas. But if that's true, then why do people keep watching? This is where we get to the real reason. I think this is the heart of the entire genre. Because isekai isn't really about fantasy worlds, it's about escape. Think about it. How many people feel stressed by school? How many people are exhausted from work? How many people feel stuck in routines that never seem to change? Wake up, study, work, sleep, repeat. For many people, life can feel predictable, sometimes even overwhelming. And then comes isekai, a genre built around one powerful idea. What if you could start over? Not tomorrow, not next year, right now. Imagine leaving behind every mistake you've ever made, every embarrassment, every failure, every regret, and suddenly waking up somewhere completely new, a place where nobody knows your past, nobody judges your mistakes, nobody expects anything from you. You get a second chance. And that's an incredibly powerful fantasy. Because whether we admit it or not, most people have regrets. Things they wish they had done differently, opportunities they missed, words they wish they had said, dreams they never pursued. Isekai offers something reality never can, a complete reset, a fresh beginning. And I think that's why the genre resonates with so many people. It's not just about dragons and magic. It's about the possibility of becoming a different version of yourself. A better version, a happier version, a version that isn't held back by past failures. At its core, isekai is wish fulfillment, but not necessarily in the way most people think. Because the deepest wish isn't becoming overpowered. The deepest wish is getting another chance, and that's something almost everyone can relate to. Of course, we can't talk about isekai without discussing power fantasy, because let's be honest, it's a huge part of the genre's appeal. In reality, most people are ordinary. Most people aren't famous. Most people aren't special. Most people don't have entire kingdoms depending on them. But in isekai, everything changes. Suddenly you're important. People respect you. People admire you. People need you. Your actions matter. You become the center of the story. And there's something incredibly satisfying about watching that transformation. Many viewers project themselves onto the protagonist, not because they literally want to fight demon kings, but because they enjoy the feeling of growth, the feeling of becoming stronger, the feeling of finally being recognized. It's the fantasy of seeing your efforts rewarded, the fantasy of becoming someone capable, someone valuable, someone significant. And while critics often dismiss this as shallow wish fulfillment, the truth is that wish fulfillment exists in almost every genre. Sports anime fulfill the fantasy of becoming a champion. Romance anime fulfill the fantasy of finding love. Action anime fulfill the fantasy of becoming a hero. Isekai simply fulfills the fantasy of becoming someone important in a brand new world. And clearly, that's a fantasy many people enjoy. There's another reason people keep watching Isekai, and it's surprisingly simple. Comfort. Think about your favorite food. You probably don't eat it because it's the most innovative meal ever created. You eat it because you know you'll enjoy it. Isekai works the same way. Fans know exactly what they're getting. A fantasy world, magic, adventure, character progression, an underdog becoming powerful. It's familiar, and familiarity can be comforting, especially after a stressful day. Sometimes people don't want a complicated masterpiece. Sometimes they just want to relax and watch something enjoyable. That's why people rewatch their favorite movies. That's why people replay their favorite games. That's why people continue watching genres they already love. Predictability isn't always a weakness. Sometimes it's exactly what the audience wants. And Isekai delivers that comfort consistently. Of course, not every Isekai follows the same formula. Some stand out because they do something genuinely unique. Take ReZero, for example. Instead of giving the protagonist overwhelming power, it does the exact opposite. It strips everything away and forces him to suffer through death after death. Again, and again, and again. What makes it so different is that his ability isn't strength at all. It's endurance. It's the painful process of learning, breaking, and still choosing to move forward. Now, if we shift from suffering to growth, Mushoku Tensei takes a completely different approach. Rather than focusing on battles or saving the world, it centers on rebuilding a broken life. The story follows someone trying to grow past their past mistakes, making it much more about personal development than external conflict. And then, when you want something that completely flips expectations, Konosuba steps in. Instead of a powerful, competent hero, we get a dysfunctional party that constantly fails upward. Every adventure turns into chaos, and that's exactly where the comedy comes from, watching everything go wrong in the funniest way possible. But then there's that time I got reincarnated as a slime, which takes yet another direction. Instead of focusing on struggle or failure, it leans into world building and progression on a massive scale. The story follows a character who gradually builds an entire nation from the ground up, turning what starts as a simple reincarnation story into something closer to a fantasy civilization simulator. These anime stand out because they understand the genre's foundation and then build something unique on top of it. They prove that Isekai can be more than just wish fulfillment. It can explore trauma, growth, comedy, morality, identity, and much more. So why do people love Isekai so much? It's probably not because every Isekai is amazing. Because honestly, many of them aren't. A lot of them are repetitive. A lot of them recycle the same ideas. And a lot of them will probably be forgotten a few years after they air. But the core fantasy behind Isekai remains incredibly powerful. The idea of leaving your old life behind, starting over, fixing your mistakes, finding purpose, becoming someone better. That's a fantasy people never seem to get tired of. Because deep down, most people have imagined what it would be like to get a second chance. And that's exactly what Isekai sells. Not just a new world, but a new beginning. And as long as people continue dreaming about escaping reality, starting over, and becoming the person they wish they could be, I don't think Isekai is going anywhere anytime soon. But what about you? Do you like Isekai anime? Or are you tired of seeing the same formula over and over again? And if you're a fan of the genre, what's your favorite Isekai of all time? Let me know down in the comments. I'd love to see your answers. And if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, subscribe, and stick around for more anime content. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.